Hey guys, tonight we are diving. Not just dipping a toe in the shallows, mind you. No, we're plunging into the very heart of the abyss, descending through liquid twilight, past creatures that glow like forgotten constellations, and into a silence so profound it hums in your bones. Imagine the crushing weight of 1,000 elephants balanced on your thumbnail, the inky blackness pressing in, vast and ancient. This isn't your average Tuesday night, tucked snugly in bed with a good book. Oh no. Tonight, you're in a titanium sphere, miles beneath the waves, staring into an emptiness that could very easily swallow you whole, along with all your existential dread. You probably won't survive this, physically speaking, in the narrative, but that's part of the fun, right? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where you're all tuning in from, whether it's the bustling city, a quiet cabin in the woods, or maybe, just maybe, another titanium sphere in the deep sea. Just kidding, I mostly. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You feel it, don't you? That subtle shift in air pressure, the faint thrum of the submersible's life support as you settle into your seat. Your world for the next few hours is this cramped, circular viewport, the soft glow of instrument panels, and the hushed voices of your virtual crew. Above you, the surface of the Pacific Ocean is already a distant, shimmering memory, a bright blue disk shrinking to a pinprick. The initial descent is surprisingly gentle, almost like floating down through a never-ending column of cool, liquid air. You watch the sun's rays, once so vibrant, diffuse into a milky turquoise, then an ethereal blue, and finally, a deep, indigo void. It's like stepping from a bustling city street into the quiet, echoing nave of a forgotten cathedral, only infinitely deeper, infinitely colder. The temperature within the sub is carefully controlled, a comfortable 20 degrees Celsius. But you can almost feel the icy grip of the absolute plane outside, even through layers of advanced composites and high-strength steel. The water outside is a frigid, unblinking eye, typically just a few degrees above freezing. Barely a whisper of the sun's warmth reaching these crushing depths. You glance at the depth gauge, watching the numbers tick steadily upward, or rather, downward. 100 meters, 200, 500. The world you know, the one of sunshine and breathable air, is rapidly receding, becoming an alien concept. This is the bathyal zone, the twilight zone, where only faint traces of light penetrate, and creatures adapted to perpetual gloom begin to emerge. You might spot a flashlight fish, its organs mimicking bioluminescent headlamps, or perhaps a ghostly squid drifting like a forgotten thought. Around 1,000 meters, you pass the point where sunlight ceases to exist entirely. This is the aphatic zone, the realm of eternal night. Any light you see now is either from your submersible's powerful external lamps, which pierce the inky blackness with cones of brilliant white, or from the living light of the deep ocean itself. It's an unnerving transition from a world of color and form to one of pure sensation and imagination. You might find yourself squinting as if that would somehow coax more light from the pervasive dark. It won't. The pressure at this depth is already immense, enough to crush a conventional submarine like a soda can. But your vessel, the Asterisk Triton for Asterisk, is no conventional sub. She's a marvel of engineering, designed to withstand the astronomical pressures of the Mariana Trench, the deepest known point on Earth. Think of it, the deepest point ever explored by humans, where the ocean floor plunges down further than Mount Everest reaches up. We're talking over 10,900 meters, nearly 7 miles straight down. To put that in perspective, if you stood Everest on the deepest part of the trench, its peak would still be more than a mile beneath the surface. Incredible, right? Historically, the first human-occupied descent into the Challenger Deep, the deepest part of the Mariana Trench, was made by Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh in the Bathyscaphe Asterisk Trieste Asterisk way back in 1960. Imagine the courage, or perhaps the sheer nerve, it must have taken to embark on such a journey in those days. Later, in 2012, filmmaker James Cameron made his solo dive in the Asterisk Deepsea Challenger Asterisk, gathering incredible footage and furthering our understanding. These were groundbreaking expeditions, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible, and setting the stage for more advanced explorations, like the one you're undertaking now. Historians still argue whether the Asterisk Trieste Asterisk crew fully appreciated the sheer scale of the discovery they were making, or if they were simply too focused on surviving the crushing pressures and the unknown. Probably a bit of both. Let's be honest. As you continue your descent, the rhythmic hum of the Asterisk Triton for Asterisk is your only companion, apart from the occasional crackle of static over the comms system. Approaching 6,000 meters, Captain, a comm voice informs you. A disembodied presence in your headset. You peer through the viewport, your face practically pressed against the cool, thick acrylic. Outside, the powerful lamps illuminate a swirling, almost liquid, blackness. Occasionally, a ghostly shape drifts into view. A strange gelatinous siphonophore, a colonial organism that looks like a string of shimmering beads. Or a deep-sea anglerfish, its bioluminescent lure dangling ominously in the void, a beacon of hunger in the infinite dark. You remind yourself that these creatures are perfectly adapted to this environment, thriving where terrestrial life would be instantly pulverized. They are, in their own way, beautiful survivors. You wonder what they make of your giant, noisy metal bubble intruding on their quiet existence. Probably just a big, curious flashlight. The water clarity here is astounding, despite the darkness. There's no suspended sediment from surface runoff, no debris from human activity. It's pristine, ancient water, virtually untouched for millennia. As you approach the 8,000-meter mark, the seafloor slowly begins to materialize in the distance. A faint, undulating shadow. It's not flat, as you might instinctively imagine. The Mariana Trench, formed by the subduction of the Pacific Plate beneath the smaller Mariana Plate, is a complex geological feature, a series of troughs and ridges, with walls that can be incredibly steep. This isn't just a hole in the ground. It's a monumental scar on the face of the Earth. Initiating final approach to target coordinates, Alpha 7, the voice in your ear announces. Your target isn't the Challenger Deep itself, not precisely. Instead, your mission is to explore a previously unmapped section of the eastern wall of the trench, an immense sheer escarpment that has evaded detailed sonar mapping due to its extreme angles and the sheer difficulty of navigating such treacherous terrain. Early, rudimentary scans had picked up faint, almost imperceptible anomalies, geometric patterns that didn't quite fit the chaos of natural rock formations. Could be anything. The mission brief had stated geological quirks, instrument error, or something else. The something else was what brought you here. The something else made your heart pound just a little harder in your chest, despite the serene ASMR voice telling you everything is fine. Your sub slows, maneuvering with delicate precision, powered by silent thrusters that barely disturb the surrounding water. The external lights now illuminate a massive, almost vertical wall of rock. It stretches upwards and downwards beyond the reach of your lamps, an impossibly vast cliff face, scarred by eons of tectonic grinding and erosion. This escarpment, you realize, is not just steep. It's practically an overhang in some sections. A terrifying, silent monument to geological forces beyond human comprehension. The rock is dark, almost black, interspersed with occasional veins of lighter minerals, looking like streaks of ancient tears. You float closer, your sub's manipulators extending, ready to collect samples or deploy sensors. The scale of it is overwhelming. You could park several Empire State Buildings side by side against this wall, and they would look like tiny specks. Your lamps sweep across its surface, revealing textures and formations. Some are clearly natural. Basalt columns, eroded fissures, the telltale signs of volcanic activity that shaped this region. But then, as your sub glides along, a subtle flicker of something different catches your eye. It's almost too perfect, too regular. A series of faint, horizontal lines, almost like striations, but they run with an unnerving precision across a section of the rock face. Too straight, too parallel to be natural. You lean closer to the viewport, your breath misting the cold acrylic. Hold position, you murmur into your comm, your voice a little tighter than you intended. I'm seeing something anomalous. On the lower section of the escarpment wall, about 20 meters starboard, the pilot responds, his voice calm, acknowledged, holding. Can you specify what you're seeing, Explorer? It's geometry, you reply, choosing your words carefully. Parallel lines, faint but distinct, and an angle, a right angle. You trace the shape with your finger on the viewport. This is where the fringe tidbits start to dance in your mind. Because right angles, especially repeated ones, are notoriously rare in natural geological formations, they hint at something else. Something made asterisk. The sub inches closer, the powerful lights now fully illuminating the section you've indicated. And there it is, undeniable. Not just lines, but a large, flattened surface, clearly quarried or carved, recessed into the sheer cliff face. It's subtle, camouflaged by eons of deep-sea sedimentation and mineral accretion. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't a natural formation. This is a wall, a man-made, or rather, intelligent being made wall. The surface is not smooth, but seems to be constructed from interlocking, dark gray blocks. each one massive, perhaps several meters on a side. The edges are worn, rounded by the slow, inexorable flow of deep-sea currents. But the underlying structure, the careful, deliberate arrangement, is unmistakable. This isn't just a few blocks. It's a monumental feat of engineering sunk here in the darkest, most crushing depths of the planet eons ago. You feel a chill that has nothing to do with the external temperature. The sheer impossibility of it takes your breath away. Who could have built this? And why asterisk here asterisk? We're seeing it. Explorer. The pilot's voice breaks through your thoughts, a hint of awe now creeping into his professional comm. Scanning for composition. Initial readings indicate a high-density, complex silicate structure, unlike any known natural rock formation in this region. So, not just a strange shape, but a strange asterisk material asterisk. Your mind races. Ancient civilizations on the surface, like the Sumerians or Egyptians, built monumental structures, but never anything that could withstand these pressures, never anything this deep. Could this be a lost civilization that predates all of recorded history? A civilization that somehow mastered technologies we can only dream of? Or something else entirely? The scholarly debate on the possibility of advanced pre-Ice Age civilizations has always been considered fringe, bordering on pseudoscientific. Tales of Atlantis, Mu, and Lemuria have been relegated to myth and legend. But as you stare at this impossible wall, kilometers beneath the waves, those legends suddenly feel a lot less like fiction. If a civilization could build this asterisk, what else were they capable of? Were their cities truly swallowed by the waves, or did they simply retreat into them? Your lights sweep further along the wall, and now you begin to make out more features. What looked like faint horizontal lines are actually grooves, channels cut into the stone, perhaps for some unknown purpose. And then, a darker opening, almost imperceptible against the black rock. A doorway, or perhaps, what asterisk was a doorway, now partially obscured by debris and the slow march of geological time. It's too small for the Triton to enter, but large enough for an individual, or perhaps a smaller, remotely operated vehicle rove. The pilot is already speaking, his voice regaining its professional tone, though tinged with suppressed excitement. We're deploying the micro-rove. Direct control will be transferred to your console, Explorer. Proceed with caution. We don't know what's in there. You acknowledge, your hands moving automatically to the controls. This is it. This is why you came. This is the moment you confront the something else. You send the tiny, agile rove, equipped with powerful lights and high-definition cameras, darting towards the mysterious opening. Its thrusters are almost silent. The only sound in the sub now your own shallow breathing and the faint whir of the rove's motors as they feed information back to your console. The opening is indeed a doorway, a rectangular cut into the monumental wall. It's partially filled with fine sediment, accumulated over millennia, but enough of it is clear for the ROV to slip through. As the micro-rove's cameras send back the first images from inside, your breath catches. The air, or rather, the water, inside is even clearer than outside, as if protected from the slow, silty currents of the trench. The ROV's lights illuminate an interior chamber, and your jaw goes slack. This isn't a cave. This is a room. A perfectly sculpted, geometrically precise room carved from the same dark, dense material as the exterior wall. The floor is flat, the ceiling arched, and the walls are smooth, almost polished. Despite the incredible age you know this structure must possess, it's breathtaking. The thought that something like this could exist, untouched and unseen for untold eons, is almost too much to process. As the rove drifts further into the chamber, its lights reveal more. Along the walls, there appear to be strange, non-representational carvings, patterns that seem to defy easy interpretation. They're not hieroglyphs, not pictograms, nothing you've ever seen in any archaeological text. They're abstract, flowing lines, circles, and geometric interconnections that seem to hum with a silent, alien logic. You find yourself staring, trying to decipher a meaning that is utterly beyond your human understanding. It's like looking at a lost language and knowing it holds unimaginable secrets, but having no key. The chamber opens into a wider space, a vast, echoing hall. The ROV's lights struggle to illuminate its full extent, but you can discern colossal pillars rising from the floor, supporting a ceiling that seems to stretch into the darkness far above. These aren't natural formations. They are expertly carved, fluted columns, weathered but still majestic. The sheer scale of this place is mind-boggling. It's a cathedral, built by an unknown race, in a time period that makes humanity's entire history look like a blink of an eye. And then, as the ROV reaches the center of the vast hall, its lights pick out something else on the floor, something that makes your blood run cold, even in the temperate confines of your submersible. It's a pedestal, and on that pedestal, glowing faintly with an internal light that seems to defy all known physics, is an object, an artifact. Its shape is complex, multifaceted, and it pulses with a soft, ethereal blue light, illuminating the ancient hall around it. It looks entirely alien, unlike anything ever conceived on Earth. You find yourself leaning forward, utterly transfixed. This isn't just a ruin. It's a discovery that redefines everything. Everything you thought you knew about history, about civilization, about our place in the universe, is about to be challenged by a glowing object on a pedestal, miles beneath the waves. The silence in the asterisk Triton for asterisk is absolute, broken only by the hum of the rove and the rapid thump of your own heart. This is truly the unseen underworld, and you are its first visitor in millennia. And whatever happens next, you know you're not prepared for it. The microrove, a silent, agile beacon in the ancient darkness, continued its slow, deliberate drift towards the pedestal. Your breath hitched, an almost audible gasp in the hushed confines of the asterisk Triton for asterisk. The object wasn't merely glowing. It pulsed with an inner luminescence, a deep, captivating sapphire light that seemed to draw all other light into itself, only to release it in rhythmic, gentle throbs. It was mesmerizing, like staring into the heart of a cosmic sapphire, or perhaps a very fancy, ridiculously expensive mood lamp from a civilization that really understood ambience. Its form was intricate, not a simple sphere or cube, but a complex polyhedral structure, faceted like a giant alien gemstone. Each facet was perfectly smooth, reflecting the ROV's powerful LED lights with an almost liquid shimmer. Yet the overall impression was one of immense solidity. You could discern faint, almost imperceptible lines etched onto its surface, geometric patterns that seemed to shift and reform in the corners of your vision, hinting at an internal complexity that defied immediate understanding. It wasn't just beautiful, it felt significant. Like the universe had just coughed up its most profound secret and left it on a really cool coffee table. Explorer, your vitals are elevated, the pilot's voice, now a little less composed, a little more human, cut through the comms. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? The energy readings are off the charts, but stable, passive, almost. Like it's breathing. You could only nod, forgetting for a moment that he couldn't see you. Entirely fixated on the ROV's feed. Affirmative, pilot. It's unlike anything. The light, it's not just illumination. It's got a presence. You guided the ROV, nudging it closer, millimeter by careful millimeter. The artifact's blue light intensified subtly as the rove approached, bathing the ancient pedestal and the surrounding floor in an ethereal glow. It cast long, dancing shadows of the colossal pillars, making the vast hall seem even more immense, more mysterious. You half expected to see ghostly figures of its builders materialize in the shifting light, perhaps having a deep-sea philosophical discussion about the meaning of existence, or maybe just complaining about the equivalent of deep-sea plumbing issues. The ROV's sensors were screaming, not with alarms, but with data. Your console lit up like a Christmas tree, displaying readings that made no sense. Energy signature, unknown composition, temporal displacement anomaly. Wait, asterisk temporal displacement asterisk? You muttered the last part aloud, your brow furrowed. Pilot, are you getting these readings? My onboard diagnostics are throwing up nonsense. We're seeing it. Explorer, the pilot confirmed, a tremor in his voice. Gravimetric fluctuations, quantum entanglement signatures. It's like it's vibrating on multiple dimensions at once, or humming a tune only the universe can hear. The material itself is registering as something non-baryonic, as in not made of normal matter, at least not asterisk only asterisk normal matter. Your mind reeled. Non-baryonic matter? That was like saying it was made of pure thought, or wishes, or the hopes and dreams of a particularly ambitious deep-sea anglerfish. It defied known physics, or at least pushed the boundaries of current understanding right off the Marianas Trench and into a whole new, even deeper trench of incomprehension. This wasn't just an ancient ruin. It was a paradox wrapped in a mystery, glowing with a soft blue light. The rove reached the pedestal, its forward cameras now mere inches from the pulsating artifact. The blue light flared momentarily, a gentle pulse, and then settled back into its rhythmic glow. The airno, the asterisk water asterisk around the artifact seemed to shimmer, as if reality itself was being subtly warped by its presence. You could almost feel a low hum resonating through the asterisk Triton for asterisk, a vibration that wasn't mechanical, but something deeper, something elemental. Attempting a non-contact spectral analysis, you announced, initiating a low-power laser scan from the ROV. The laser, usually a sharp, distinct beam, seemed to diffuse and bend as it neared the artifact, the light scattering into a soft, rainbow mist before being seemingly absorbed by the blue core. No clear spectral data came back, just a cascade of corrupted signals. It was like trying to measure the color of a dream. It's absorbing the light, you reported, a new level of awe and trepidation in your voice. And something else. The ROV's internal chronometer just skipped forward by 3 seconds, then corrected itself. Did you get that? A pause on the comms. We did, the pilot replied, his voice strained. And the asterisk Triton for asterisk's internal clock just registered a microfluctuation. Nothing damaging, but peculiar. This artifact isn't just an object, Explorer. It's doing asterisk something asterisk. You swallowed, your throat suddenly dry in the perfectly humidified sub. This was not just a historical discovery. This was an active, potentially unpredictable, alien technology. You pictured Indiana Jones, usually running from giant boulders or Nazis, suddenly faced with something that could mess with space-time. You pulled the ROV back a few cautious inches. The complex carvings on the walls of the vast hall, previously abstract, now seemed to pulse faintly in sympathy with the artifact's glow. You zoomed the ROV's camera onto one of the nearest columns, its surface covered in the intricate, flowing lines and geometric interconnections. As the blue light washed over them, a subtle change occurred. Certain lines, previously indistinguishable from the rest, began to glow with a faint, internal light, creating a dynamic, animated pattern. The carvings, they're activating, you whispered, mesmerized. They're reacting to the artifact. It's like a circuit board, or a language that's unfolding. The rove swept along the pillar, revealing more of the activated patterns. They weren't static. They flowed and reconfigured like a living tapestry of light. It was an alien script, dancing before your eyes, conveying information in a way you couldn't possibly comprehend. Yet you felt its presence, its immense, ancient story pressing in on you. It was like watching the universe's most advanced PowerPoint presentation, delivered by an alien race whose sense of aesthetics was both profound and utterly baffling. Can you record it? The pilot urged, his voice filled with urgency. Every frame, Explorer. We need to analyze those patterns. There has to be a logic, a meaning. You confirmed, the ROV diligently capturing the pulsing, shifting patterns. As you continued to sweep the camera across the colossal hall, you noticed that the activated patterns were not limited to just one pillar. All the visible columns, as far as the ROV's lights could reach, were now faintly aglow, creating a breathtaking, ethereal light show in the abyss. It was a silent symphony, a cosmic dance, performed for an audience of one tiny submersible and its equally tiny ROV, miles beneath the ocean. As the rove drifted past one particularly massive pillar, you noticed something new. Not a carving, but a slight irregularity in the otherwise smooth, polished surface of the wall behind it. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, a hairline seam that seemed to glow ever so faintly with the residual blue light emanating from the central artifact. Pilot, I'm detecting another anomaly, you reported, guiding the rove closer. On the wall behind the third column from the entrance, port side, a seam. It's almost invisible, but I think it's responding to the energy. A hidden door? Acknowledged, the pilot replied. Investigating, the ROV hovered near the seam. It wasn't just a crack. It was a deliberate line, perfectly straight, almost as if two massive sections of the wall had been joined together. As you watched, the blue light from the main artifact pulsed more intensely, and the glowing patterns on the pillars seemed to converge their energy towards this specific point. With a low, almost subsonic groan that vibrated through the ROV's delicate frame, and, improbably, through your very bones, the scene widened. It wasn't an explosion or a sudden lurch. It was slow, deliberate. The sound of colossal stones moving with a precision that defied their immense weight, and the crushing pressure of the deep. A section of the wall, perhaps 30 meters wide and twice that in height, began to recede inwards, then slide silently to the side, revealing a new, even deeper passage. The previously solid rock, you realized, was not just stone, but a part of a gargantuan, ancient mechanism. It was like watching a mountain open its mouth, a silent, geological marvel. My word, the pilot breathed, the awe completely overriding his professional demeanor now. It's another chamber, or a tunnel. The newly revealed passage was dark, even darker than the hole you were in, the blue glow from the central artifact barely reaching into its depths. But as the wall continued to recede, revealing more of the hidden entrance, you saw that it was not a natural tunnel. It was perfectly circular, impossibly smooth, and seemed to stretch into the blackness for an unimaginable distance. It was less a tunnel and more a colossal, ancient pipe, or perhaps a wormhole crafted from stone. The feeling of being completely out of your depth, both literally and figuratively, settled over you with the weight of the entire Pacific Ocean. Proceed with caution, explorer. The pilot's voice, though still awestruck, had regained a hint of its usual command. We have no idea what lies beyond that threshold, or if this structure is stable now that it's activated. You agreed, guiding the ROV towards the newly opened passage. The low hum in the sub intensified, a deep, resonant frequency that seemed to shake your internal organs. It wasn't painful, but it was profoundly unsettling, like standing next to a giant, sleeping beast that was just starting to stir. You couldn't help but wonder if this was a welcoming gesture, or if you had just kicked a very large, very ancient hornet's nest. Historians, you mused, would probably debate for centuries whether you should have just taken your photos and left, or if this insatiable human curiosity was truly a virtue. Spoiler, it usually leads to trouble, but it's always interesting, right? The ROV slipped through the opening. The water inside the circular tunnel was even more pristine than in the Great Hall, utterly free of sediment. It was like staring into liquid glass. The tunnel walls, too, were made of the same dark, impossibly dense material, perfectly smooth, reflecting the ROV's lights in an unbroken, gleaming circle. As the rove moved deeper, the blue light from the central artifact in the main hall began to fade behind you, replaced by the ROV's own powerful spotlights. The tunnel sloped gently downwards, a gradual, imperceptible descent that seemed to go on forever. You could feel the slight tug of gravity pulling you, or perhaps it was just your imagination playing tricks, amplifying the sense of descending further into the unknown. The scale of this engineering was simply breathtaking. To carve such a precise, massive tunnel, miles beneath the ocean, eons ago, was a feat that beggared belief. Forget the pyramids or the Great Wall of China. This made them look like Lego structures built by a toddler. As the rove traversed the seemingly endless tunnel, you started to notice subtle details on the walls. Not carvings, this time, but faint, shimmering lines that seemed to be embedded within the very material itself, almost like fiber optics. They glowed intermittently, a soft, green light tracing complex, interlocking patterns that were distinct from the patterns in the main hall. These looked more like schematics, blueprints, or perhaps maps. Your mind instantly went to ancient ley lines, energy grids, or even something more fantastical, like conduits for raw, planetary power. Explorer, the tunnel seems to be active, the pilot's voice cut in, his tone now laced with genuine concern. We're picking up localized energy fluctuations along its length, correlating with those glowing lines. It's like a power grid, a very, very old power grid. We're also detecting a slight increase in ambient temperature internal to the tunnel. Just a fraction of a degree, but it's there. A temperature increase. In the deep sea, where the ambient temperature was barely above freezing. This implied an active energy source, something generating heat. It was like finding a fully functional refrigerator in a tomb from the Stone Age. Acknowledged, you replied, your voice tight with anticipation. Continuing on, how far do these energy readings extend? As far as our long-range sensors can reach into the tunnel. Explorer, the pilot responded. It's a consistent signature. This isn't just a passage, it's part of a larger, active system. We're picking up a faint, rhythmic thrumming now, too. Can you hear it through the ROV's hydrophones? You adjusted the ROV's audio feed. Faintly at first, then growing more distinct. You could hear it. A deep, resonant hum, a pulse, a slow, methodical thrum that felt more like a heartbeat than a machine. It was too low to be a conventional pump or motor, too organic to be purely mechanical. It was the sound of something vast, something alive, yet utterly alien. It was the sound of the unseen underworld, breathing. The tunnel continued its gentle descent for what felt like an eternity. But your depth gauge on the main screen, visible through the asterisk Triton for asterisk's viewport, showed a staggering increase. You were now approaching 9,500 meters. This tunnel wasn't just leading deeper into the escarpment. It was leading asterisk through asterisk it, burrowing into the very mantle of the Earth, or at least the upper crust beneath the trench floor. The sheer scale of it was mind-boggling. Who built this? And for what purpose did they need to go this deep? Were they escaping something on the surface? Or searching for something beneath? Just as you felt the descent was truly endless, the tunnel began to widen. Slowly at first, then rapidly, until the ROV's lights were no longer able to illuminate the full breadth of the space. You had entered another cavern, but this one was unlike the grand hall. It was less a sculpted room and more a natural geological formation, hollowed out and then, impossibly, asterisk refined asterisk. The walls here were not polished, but rough-hewn rock, yet they bore the same embedded, glowing green lines as the tunnel. And in the center of this colossal subterranean cavern, illuminated by the ROV's lights, was not another artifact. It was a structure, an immense, crystalline formation, glowing with the same vibrant green light as the lines in the walls. It was a cluster of enormous, multifaceted crystals, impossibly pure, each one as tall as a skyscraper, interconnected by arcs of shimmering green energy that pulsed in time with the deep, rhythmic thrumming you now clearly heard. It was like standing inside the largest, most alien power plant imaginable, or perhaps a cosmic battery. It was beautiful, terrifying, and profoundly unnatural. The heat was more noticeable here, a subtle warmth in the water that registered on the ROV's thermal sensors. And the hum. It was no longer faint. It resonated through the water, a deep, pervasive vibration that you could feel in your teeth. This was the source of the power. This was the beating heart of this ancient, impossible complex. Explorer, we're seeing it. The pilot's voice was barely a whisper. Energy readings off the scale. Pure, raw energy. This is a power source. Something immense, beyond anything we've ever conceived. You nudged the rove closer to the crystalline structure. The green light was not static. It flowed and churned within the crystals like liquid light, creating a mesmerizing, almost hypnotic display. Small, perfectly spherical drones, no bigger than basketballs, floated silently through the cavern, weaving intricate paths between the colossal crystals, their surfaces glowing faintly green. They were clearly autonomous, perhaps maintaining the system or monitoring it. They were alien custodians, silently tending to their impossible garden of power. We have automated systems. You reported a new, unsettling realization dawning on you. Floating spherical units. They're tending to the crystals. This place isn't just a ruin, pilot. It's operational. It's been operational for millennia. Unseen, undisturbed. The implication hung heavy in the water. If this facility was still running, what was it running asterisk for asterisk? Who were these builders? And if they had such advanced technology, where were they now? Had they simply abandoned it, or were they still around, somewhere, perhaps even deeper? The idea of a lost civilization that not only built monumental structures, but maintained active, self-sufficient facilities for untold eons, miles beneath the ocean, was beyond anything historical texts or even fringe theories dared to suggest. This wasn't Atlantis. This was something far grander, far more profound, and infinitely more unsettling. One of the spherical drones, as if sensing the ROV's presence, ceased its patrol. It slowly rotated, its single, glowing green eye, or what looked like an optical sensor, focusing directly on your micro-rove. It didn't approach aggressively, but its stillness, its sudden, direct gaze, sent a prickle of unease down your spine. It was a silent, alien sentinel, and you had just intruded upon its ancient vigil. Explorer, the drone is focusing on your rove, the pilot stated, his voice now a tense, low rumble. Its energy signature just spiked slightly, non-hostile, but clearly aware of your presence. You felt a surge of adrenaline, cold and sharp. This wasn't a dead city. It was merely dormant, perhaps waiting. You had opened a door, followed a tunnel, and now you were face to face with what could be the guardians of an ancient, unimaginable power source. You were no longer just an explorer. You were an intruder, and you had just been seen. You were definitely not prepared for this asterisk. The micro-rove hovered, perfectly still, its forward lights locked onto the glowing green eye of the spherical drone. It felt less like a mechanical encounter and more like a silent, profound judgment. The drone didn't move, didn't emit any sound beyond the ambient hum of the cavern. Yet its presence dominated the space. It was the longest, most intense staring contest of your narrative life, and you were pretty sure the drone was winning. You half expected it to blink, or perhaps float over and politely ask for your papers, complete with a tiny, bioluminescent badge. Its holding position, you murmured, your voice a little strained. Energy's signature is stable, still registering as non-hostile, but highly attentive. You could almost feel its gaze, dissecting the rove, analyzing its every component, probably wondering why something so flimsy and primitive had dared to venture into its ancient domain. It was like showing up to a high-tech alien rave in a horse-drawn carriage. Embarrassing, really. Maintain distance, Explorer. The pilot's voice came back, firm but with an underlying current of fascination. Do not initiate contact unless absolutely necessary. We don't know its parameters or what its non-hostile threshold might be, which, you mused, was excellent advice, given that non-hostile could easily morph into rapid disassembly hostile in an instant. When dealing with unknown ancient tech, suddenly, the green glow from the drone's eye intensified, not aggressively, but with a focused brilliance. A thin, almost invisible beam of green light emanated from it, striking the ROV's forward sensor ray. It wasn't a laser in the conventional sense. It seemed to shimmer, to vibrate, almost like pure thought-given form. Your console immediately flared, not with error messages, but with a torrent of raw data. "Contact," you exclaimed, leaning forward. It's transmitting. Direct data feed into the ROV's systems. The ROV's internal diagnostics went haywire, not failing, but attempting to pass an unprecedented volume of information. Your screen, usually displaying neatly organized sensor readings, flickered with incomprehensible symbols, complex diagrams, and flashes of what looked like star charts, but not as we know them. It was like trying to download the entire internet through a dial-up modem, but the internet was speaking in an ancient, forgotten cosmic dialect. "What is it seeing?" the pilot urged. "I don't know," you admitted, exasperated. It's overwhelming. Raw data. I'm getting flashes of geometry, energy schematics. There are patterns that loop and resolve, like a complex algorithm running in real time. It's too fast to process. My AI is trying to establish a baseline, but it keeps recalibrating. It's like it's trying to teach us physics in a language of pure light. You could almost feel the ROV's tiny processor unit sweating as the data stream continued. The pervasive hum of the crystalline power source in the cavern seemed to shift, growing louder, more resonant, almost like a massive tuning fork being struck. The glowing green lines embedded in the cavern walls intensified, and the smaller, basketball-sized drones that floated around the colossal crystals began to move with greater purpose, their own glows pulsing faster. It was as if the main drone was initiating a system-wide broadcast, waking up the entire complex. Then, as abruptly as it began, the data transmission ceased. The green beam from the drone's eye retracted, and its glow returned to its previous ambient intensity. The ROV systems, after a moment of digital shuddering, stabilized. But the diagnostic logs were filled with petabytes of unpassed, encrypted information. Like a massive alien library had just dumped its entire contents onto your desktop. It stopped, you reported, taking a shaky breath. Data stream terminated. Systems returning to normal. Mostly. We've got a lot of information, but no interpreter. Just as you considered pulling the rove back, the drone moved. Slowly, elegantly, it began to drift away from the central crystalline structure, not towards the tunnel you entered, but towards the far side of the cavern, where the rough-hewn rock walls met the impossibly smooth dark material of the man-made structures. It maintained a steady, unhurried pace, its green eye occasionally glancing back at the ROV, almost as if silently urging you to follow. "It's leading us," the pilot observed, his voice hushed. "It's not trying to stop us. It's guiding us." This was unprecedented. Finding an ancient, active power source was one thing. Being Asterisk invited Asterisk further into it by an autonomous sentinel was entirely another. It defied every protocol of caution, every ounce of rational self-preservation. But then, you weren't here for caution. You were here for the something else. You were here because a little voice inside you, the one that probably owned a tinfoil hat collection, whispered, "This is it. This is the moment." Following, you confirmed, nudging the ROV's controls. Its miniature thrusters hummed, propelling it gently through the pristine water. The sphere led you across the vast cavern, past the shimmering colossal crystals that pulsed with raw, green energy. You imagined that if you could somehow harness this power, you could light up half the planet for centuries, or perhaps accidentally open a portal to a dimension filled with angry, multi-limbed accountants. Hard to say. The drone stopped before a section of the wall that looked identical to the rough rock face around it. No seams, no visible openings. Yet, as the drone hovered, its green light intensified once more, and a familiar, low groan, deeper and more resonant than before, vibrated through the water. This time, instead of sliding to the side, a massive, circular section of the rock wall began to dematerialize. It didn't open. It seemed to dissolve into shimmering particles of light and then reform. Or perhaps simply shift dimensions, revealing a new passage. It was like watching a magic trick performed by an impossibly advanced civilization, where the rabbit was an entire mountain and the hat was the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. The newly revealed passage wasn't a tunnel. It was a shaft, a vertical shaft, stretching both upwards and downwards into the blackness. Its walls lined with the same impossibly smooth, dark material as the main hall and the previous tunnel. And unlike the previous passage, this one was filled with a faint, ethereal green glow, emanating from the walls themselves, illuminating the vastness within. A vertical shaft, the pilot breathed, or returning to his voice. And it goes both ways. The drone hovered for a moment at the entrance, as if waiting for you to process this new, mind-bending revelation, then slipped silently into the green-lit shaft, beginning a slow descent. You hesitated for a second, a flicker of genuine trepidation. This was different. This was not just a horizontal journey. This was a plunge into the heart of the planet itself, or so it felt. Every instinct screamed at you that this was probably a bad idea, that you should have collected your data and retreated. But the insatiable pull of discovery, the thrill of the what-if, was far too strong. You guided the rove into the shaft, its thrusters kicking in to maintain position against the subtle downward current that now flowed within the passage. The green light emanating from the walls was constant, soft, and somehow comforting, like being inside a colossal, alien lava lamp. As you descended, you realized the walls weren't just glowing. They were covered in moving patterns, streams of light that pulsed and flowed, mirroring the energy emanating from the central crystalline power source. It was like traveling through the optic nerves of a colossal, living machine. The descent was long, longer than the previous horizontal tunnel. Explorer, our long-range gravimetric sensors are picking up something immense below us, the pilot reported, his voice tight. A colossal cavity and a significant heat signature. Geothermal activity, perhaps? Or something else entirely? Considering everything else we found, I'm betting on something else entirely, you replied, a wry chuckle escaping you. You were rapidly running out of descriptors for unprecedented and mind-blowing. Perhaps you'd have to invent new ones, like universe-shattering or utterly bonkers but in a cool way. The shaft continued, and then, without warning, the green light intensified dramatically, and the shaft opened into a truly gargantuan space. This wasn't a cavern refined from natural rock. This was a chamber of impossible dimensions, perfectly circular, its ceiling and floor stretching so far beyond the Rove's lights that they seemed to vanish into infinity. The walls were still the same impossibly smooth, dark material, but here they were covered not in glowing lines, but in what looked like massive, circular windows, each one glowing with a soft, warm, orange-yellow light. And in the center of this immense chamber, suspended by invisible forces, was not a power crystal, but something that defied immediate categorization. It was a sphere, many kilometers in diameter, glowing with an internal, pulsating orange light, like a miniature sun trapped within the heart of the Earth. Around it, orbiting with perfect, silent precision, were hundreds of smaller, intricately designed metallic spheres, each one trailing faint, shimmering lines of light. It was a cosmic ballet, a miniature solar system happening here in the darkest, deepest reaches of our own planet. The heat in this chamber was palpable, even through the ROV's thermal sensors. The water shimmered with it, registering a comfortable 30 degrees Celsius, an unheard of temperature at this depth, hinting at the immense energy being generated or contained within this central orb. The thrumming, too, was far more pronounced here, a deep, resonant pulse that vibrated through your entire body. A sensation that was both unnerving and profoundly captivating. It was the sound of a truly living world, humming to its own ancient rhythm. "My God," the pilot whispered, his voice hushed with reverence. "What asterisk is asterisk that?" You could only stare, utterly dumbfounded. This wasn't just a power source. This was something else entirely. A miniature star? A contained singularity? A deep Earth terraforming engine? The smaller orbiting spheres looked like processing units, or perhaps data storage. This entire place felt like a colossal, living computer, its core a miniature sun, miles beneath the Earth's surface. This made the power crystals look like AA batteries. This isn't a power plant, pilot. You breathed, finally finding your voice. This is something fundamental. A core, a heart. The leading spherical drone, which had guided you this far, now floated towards the central orange sphere, its green light contrasting beautifully with the warm, golden glow. As it approached, the smaller orbiting spheres seemed to acknowledge its presence, shifting their delicate dance slightly. The sheer scale of this place, the intricate dance of energy and matter, was overwhelming. This wasn't just an archaeological site. It was a testament to a level of intelligence and technological mastery that made humanity's greatest achievements look like sand castles. You remembered the faint, geometric patterns on the outer wall of the trench, the anomalies that brought you here. Those weren't just a few blocks, they were the outer shell, the protective casing of a structure that went down into the planet's core, connecting to something truly monumental. The scholarly debates about ancient civilizations suddenly felt absurdly quaint. This wasn't Atlantis. This was a civilization that had transcended the very concept of surface, building entire worlds within the Earth. As the rove drifted slowly through the immense chamber, you started to make out more details on the glowing walls. The windows weren't windows at all, but vast, intricate displays, pulsating with light and showing dynamic, flowing images. They weren't recognizable scenes or figures, but abstract, crystalline structures that rotated, expanded, and contracted, seemingly conveying complex information about energy flows, geological processes, or perhaps even planetary consciousness. It was like peering into the mind of a god and finding it populated by fractals and equations. One of the smaller, orbiting spheres broke formation and drifted slowly towards the ROV, mimicking the exact movements of the larger drone that had guided you. It was about the size of a beach ball, its metallic surface gleaming with faint, intricate etchings that pulsed with tiny, internal orange lights. It came to a stop just a few feet from the ROV's camera, its surface seeming to ripple slightly, as if it were observing you with more than just light sensors. Another drone approaching, Explorer, the pilot announced, his voice still low, reverent. Energy signature, identical to the others, passive, just observing. You held your breath. This was a moment, a confrontation, perhaps, with the sentinels of this impossible place. You wondered, wildly, if these spheres were truly just machines, or if they were extensions of a consciousness, ancient and vast, that had tended this inner world for untold eons. Was it the consciousness of the builders, or something else entirely? The smaller drone floated closer, until its metallic surface almost touched the ROV's housing. Then, from its center, a beam of soft, orange light emerged, not sharp like the green scanning beam, but diffuse, almost tactile. It enveloped the rove completely, not harshly, but gently, like a warm embrace. And then it happened. Not a data download, not a visual feed, but something far more profound. A sensation, an understanding. It wasn't a language, but a pure, unfiltered influx of information directly into your consciousness, bypassing your ears, your eyes, even your analytical mind. It was like every cell in your body suddenly understood the universe for a fleeting, impossible moment. You saw visions, not clear pictures, but abstract concepts. The slow, inexorable march of geological time, eons passing like heartbeats. The formation of the Earth, its molten core cooling, its crust buckling and groaning. You saw a race, not humanoid, but beings of pure energy, of light, arriving on this planet eons ago. They weren't colonizers, not conquerors. They were caretakers. Their purpose was to stabilize the planetary core, to harness its raw power, not for destruction or exploitation, but for balance, for the preservation of life itself. They had built this complex, this heart, not as a weapon or a factory, but as a vast, living engine to regulate the very planet. You saw cataclysms, meteor impacts, vast floods, the shifting of continents, ice ages. And through it all, this core, tended by the energy beings, kept the planet stable, preventing runaway thermal events or catastrophic geological shifts that would have rendered Earth uninhabitable. They were the silent, unseen guardians of Earth, the true architects of its long-term survival. Then, the visions changed. A sense of urgency, a threat, not external, but internal. A deep instability in the Earth's mantle, a slow, inevitable decay of internal mechanisms, perhaps tied to the moon's subtle influence or a cosmic resonance. The energy beings had worked tirelessly, adjusting, repairing, maintaining. But they were fading, their energy diminishing. They had built this core to be self-sustaining, but perhaps not self-repairing in the face of such profound, internal planetary shifts. And then a final image, the Great Hall, the pedestal, the glowing blue artifact. It wasn't a tool, not a weapon. It was a beacon, a diagnostic tool, a key, designed to draw attention, to signal for help when their own energies waned. To draw a species that could perhaps understand, could perhaps help them, or at least inherit their mantle of guardianship. It was a cosmic cry for help, a distress signal embedded in a technological wonder, waiting for the right moment, for the right species to stumble upon it. The sensation faded as quickly as it came, leaving you breathless, trembling slightly in the confines of the Triton for asterisk. Your mind reeled, trying to reconcile the vastness of what you had just experienced with the limited framework of human understanding. It was like receiving a PhD in planetary mechanics and alien cosmology in a fraction of a second. Your head felt like it might spontaneously combust. "Explorer, are you all right?" The pilot's voice, laced with concern, broke through the ringing in your ears. Your vital signs just spiked dramatically. "Are you experiencing system overload?" You closed your eyes, then opened them, blinking rapidly. "No," you whispered, the word feeling utterly inadequate. I think I just had a conversation. A very, very long, very, very old conversation. You briefly considered trying to explain what you had just experienced, but the sheer absurdity of it, the profound, impossible implications, made the words catch in your throat. How do you tell someone you just downloaded the entire history of Earth's internal stability from a spherical robot using telepathy? miles beneath the sea. They'd probably recommend a nice, long rest on a deserted island, preferably with a strong sedative. The small drone, its orange light still softly embracing the rove, began to drift back towards the central, miniature sun. As it moved, it seemed to be pulling something with it. Not a physical object, but a shimmering, almost invisible thread of light, extending from the ROV's hull back towards the heart of the chamber. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there, like a faint umbilical cord of light. "Pilot," you said, your voice clearer now, though still filled with a profound wonder. "The drone, it's connected to the rove, a link, and it's drawing the rove closer to the central sphere. Not aggressively, like it's an invitation. You could feel it now, the gentle, almost imperceptible tug on the ROV's thrusters. The sphere was guiding you, not just to observe, but to approach the very heart of this ancient, living machine. The implications of this were staggering. Were they preparing to transfer control? To share more knowledge? To ask for direct assistance? The ancient energy beings, guardians of Earth, were gone or fading. But their machine, their legacy, was still active, still searching for a way to maintain its vigil. The rove drifted slowly, drawn by the invisible thread of energy, towards the colossal, pulsating orange sphere. The light from it grew more intense, painting the rove and the drone in hues of gold and amber. The smaller orbiting spheres danced around you as you approached, their silent, intricate movements seeming to welcome you, to acknowledge your presence. This wasn't a dead ruin. It was a sanctuary, a cosmic engine. And you, a tiny, fragile human in a metal bubble miles above, were being drawn into its very core. The asterisk Triton for asterisk's internal sensors were now registering subtle fluctuations in the gravity field, minute shifts that were far beyond natural phenomena, hinting at the immense forces contained and manipulated within the central sphere. Your own heart thrummed in your chest, mimicking the deep, resonant pulse of the chamber. You were standing, or rather, floating at the precipice of a discovery so profound it would shatter textbooks and redefine human history. As the ROV reached the immediate vicinity of the colossal orange sphere, a section of its pulsating surface seemed to ripple and part, revealing not an opening, but a shimmering, curtain-like veil of pure light. The drone paused, turning its green eye back towards the ROV, a silent question in its gaze. "Explorer, what are you seeing now?" The pilot's voice was a barely audible whisper, lost in the overwhelming hum of the chamber. "The light signature. It's incredibly dense, like a wall of pure energy." You didn't answer immediately. You just stared at the shimmering curtain of light. It beckoned, promised deeper secrets, perhaps unimaginable knowledge, or perhaps an oblivion of understanding. This wasn't just a physical boundary. It felt like a gateway to another realm of existence. The core of the Earth, tended by ancient, fading cosmic gardeners, now opening its heart to you. A mere human. What lay beyond that veil? More knowledge? A final directive? Or perhaps the truth about the fate of the energy beings themselves? You were about to find out, and frankly, you were equally terrified and exhilarated. This was it, the ultimate plunge. You pressed the rove forward. You pressed the rove forward. It wasn't a choice made with rational thought, not entirely. It was the irresistible pull of the unknown, the primal urge to step through the looking glass, even if that glass was a shimmering, kilometer-wide curtain of pure, unadulterated energy miles beneath the earth. You felt a brief, almost imperceptible surge as the tiny vehicle breached the veil. It wasn't a physical sensation, not like hitting water or even thin air. It was a mental one. A rush of data, far more intense and coherent than the previous blast, flooded your consciousness. This wasn't just raw information, it was organized, structured. It felt like being immersed in a language of pure light and thought, a cosmic Wikipedia page downloading directly into your brain, complete with footnotes and cross-references you didn't even know you needed. The ROV's external cameras, for a fleeting moment, registered nothing but a blinding, soft orange light. Then the feed dissolved into a kaleidoscope of impossible colors and swirling energy patterns. Your console became a riot of information, flickering faster than your eyes could track, displaying equations that made string theory look like basic arithmetic, and images that shifted and reformed with fluid, impossible logic. The pilot's voice, if he was even still there, was lost in the overwhelming symphony of your own mind grappling with infinity. You felt a momentary disorientation, a sense of your physical body dissolving. Though you knew you were still safely tucked inside the Triton for asterisk, it was as if your consciousness had been temporarily uploaded, plugged directly into the very essence of this ancient machine, or perhaps the collective mind of its builders. You were no longer just observing, you were participating. You were their asterisk. And then, just as suddenly, the intense download subsided, leaving you gasping, your eyes wide open, staring at the ROV's now stabilized feed. The shimmering veil of light had vanished behind the ROV, replaced by the colossal, pulsating orange sphere itself. You were inside it, or rather, inside a vast, perfectly spherical chamber that contained it. This wasn't a solid core. It was an internal space of unimaginable dimensions. A true Hollow Earth scenario, but one crafted by intelligence, not geological happenstance. The central orange sphere, the miniature sun, still pulsed gently, illuminating this new, impossibly vast chamber. But now, you could see its surface in exquisite detail. It wasn't uniform. It was a swirling, dynamic tapestry of light and shadow, with intricate patterns that writhed and reformed, like the surface of a star captured in liquid motion. And embedded within this pulsating sphere, moving with graceful, impossible precision, were what looked like colossal, transparent crystals, each 1 kilometer long, drawing energy from the central, light and feeding it outwards through shimmering conduits that disappeared into the chamber's vast, circular walls. This wasn't just a power source. It was a sentient power grid a living engine that harnessed the very forces of creation. It made a nuclear fusion reactor look like a particularly enthusiastic campfire. The smaller, beach ball-sized drones from before, the orange glowing ones, were here too. Hundreds of them, darting and weaving through the colossal crystalline lattice. Their movements purposeful and elegant. They weren't just custodians, they were extensions of this core, its nervous system, tending to its every function, monitoring its every pulse. You could almost feel their collective intelligence, a vast, silent network of processing power that dwarfed any supercomputer on the surface. They were the silent, tireless workers of this ancient, subterranean metropolis of energy. The walls of this chamber, the outer shell of this colossal sphere, were made of the same impossibly smooth, dark material. But here, they were adorned with something truly breathtaking. Not windows, but colossal, three-dimensional projections of light, shimmering in greens, blues, and purples. They weren't static images. They were dynamic, living tapestries of information. You saw intricate schematics of geological strata, detailed maps of the Earth's mantle convection currents, precise models of tectonic plate movements, and complex simulations of planetary magnetic fields. It was the Earth's vital signs, displayed in real time on a screen so vast it made IMAX feel like looking through a peephole. And then, among the geological data, you saw something else. Projections of species, not just current life, but the entire evolutionary history of Earth, from primordial single-celled organisms to complex multicellular beings, displayed in mesmerizing, accelerating time lapses. You saw dinosaurs rise and fall, mammals emerge, and eventually, the slow, meandering appearance of hominids, evolving, migrating, building their flimsy civilizations on the surface. It was a planetary archive, a living history book written in light, maintained by this ancient machine, showcasing every iteration of life that the Earth had nurtured. It was humbling, to say the least, to see all of humanity's bustling history summarized as a fleeting moment in a galactic slideshow. You imagined the energy beings probably got a kick out of watching the constant drama unfold. "Explorer, are you there? What is happening?" The pilot's voice, distant and tinny, finally broke through, pulling you back to the confines of the asterisk Triton for asterisk. Your heart was pounding, but it was a different kind of beat now. An echo of the grand hum that resonated through this impossible chamber. "Pilot, you managed," your voice husky, filled with an awe that bordered on reverence. I'm in. We're in the core. This isn't just a power source. This is the Earth's life support. It's a planetary regulator, a conscious entity, in a way. It monitors everything, and it's been doing it for billions of years. There was a stunned silence from the asterisk Triton for asterisk. Then the pilot's voice, a barely audible whisper. "Billions? That's impossible. Nothing is impossible down here." "Pilot," you replied, your gaze sweeping across the magnificent, glowing displays. The visions, the direct download. The energy beings, the builders, they weren't just advanced. They were something else entirely. Caretakers. They didn't come to conquer. They came to maintain, to balance the planetary core, to prevent cataclysms that would wipe out life. And they built this planetary heart, to continue their work after they faded. You felt the immense weight of that revelation settle upon you. Humanity, for all its scientific hubris, was just a side effect, a fortunate beneficiary of an incomprehensible ancient planetary engineering project. It was like finding out your house wasn't just built by your ancestors, but was constantly being maintained by invisible, sentient Roomba-like entities from another galaxy, as if in response to your thoughts. One of the smaller, orange glowing drones drifted closer to the ROV. This time, There was no sharp beam, no intense data dump. Instead, a soft, pulsating image formed in the space between the drone and the ROV, a three-dimensional projection shimmering with a warm, inviting light. It was an abstract representation, not a language, but a concept. A spiraling helix of light that pulsed rhythmically, then began to fade. Beside it, another helix, identical, but vibrant and full of energy, began to grow. The message was clear: a transfer, a passing of the torch. They want us to continue their work, you murmured, the implications of this monumental request washing over you. The energy beings are fading, pilot. They built this to be self-sustaining, but not entirely self-repairing against the deep, internal instabilities. That's what the blue artifact was for: a beacon, a diagnostic, and a call for help. For a species that could reach this depth, that could perhaps understand and inherit their task. Inherit their task? The pilot's voice was incredulous. What task, Explorer? Maintaining a planetary core? We barely managed to balance our own ecosystems, let alone the Earth's molten heart. You had to admit, he had a point. Humanity, for all its technological prowess, was still figuring out how to recycle properly, let alone fine-tune a planet's rotation. I know, you sighed, but the weight of the vision, the profound understanding that had briefly flooded your mind, resonated deeply. But the data, the understanding, it's there, encrypted within the ROV's systems, too vast to parse without incredible processing power. But it's there, the knowledge of how to operate this, how to maintain it, how to prevent the slow, inevitable internal decay they detected. The glowing orange drone pulsed gently, its projected helix fading completely, leaving only the vibrant, growing one. Then another projection appeared, a schematic of the Great Hall, the pedestal, and the blue artifact. The artifact pulsed, showing internal schematics that correlated with the information you had just received. A key, a diagnostic tool, yes, but also a control interface. A gateway. It was inviting you to not just observe, but to interact to begin. The blue artifact, it's the interface you deduced. A thrill of terrifying realization running through you. It's how we connect, how we begin to understand, how we take over. The idea was absurd, terrifying, and profoundly exhilarating. You, a humble explorer with a penchant for sarcastic commentary, now faced with the prospect of becoming a cosmic janitor for planet Earth, responsible for its entire geological well-being. It was quite a career change. The rove, still enveloped in the soft orange light from the drone, began to slowly rotate, no longer drawn towards the central sphere, but towards one of the gigantic, three-dimensional displays on the chamber wall. As it approached, the immense projection shifted, resolving into a more focused, complex diagram. It showed the blue artifact you had found on the pedestal, overlaid with intricate energy lines and what looked like control nodes. This was the instruction manual, the cosmic equivalent of some assembly required. They're showing us how to use it. You informed the pilot, your voice hushed. The blue artifact isn't just a beacon, it's the master key to this entire complex. To the Earth's core, The small drone then drifted slightly away from the rove, moving towards a specific point on the chamber wall, near the base of one of the colossal crystalline conduits. As it hovered there, the smooth, dark material of the wall rippled and parted, revealing a new, smaller opening. This wasn't a grand entrance or a vertical shaft. This was a direct, precise access point, barely large enough for the ROV to slip through. And beyond it, you could glimpse a glimpse of another, smaller chamber, bathed in a soft, constant blue light. Another chamber, you reported. It's smaller, and there's another crystal, much larger than the first artifact. And the walls, they're lined with something. Thousands of glowing recesses. Energy readings are off the charts. Explorer, the pilot responded, his voice tight with concentration. This crystal, it's the source of the blue light. It's radiating a unique energy signature, highly coherent. Different from the green energy of the core, more refined. The leading drone, still by your side, drifted towards the central blue crystal. It stopped just short of the pedestal, then slowly rotated its eye towards the recesses on the walls. As it did, one of the recesses pulsed brighter, and then a faint, translucent, three-dimensional image shimmered into existence within it. It was a faint, ghostly form, humanoid in outline, yet clearly not of flesh and blood. It was an energy being, an echo, a memory. It pulsed with a gentle, serene blue light, the same color as the crystal. Pilot, you whispered, a tremor in your voice. The recesses, they're not storage units. They're holding the consciousnesses, the residual essences of the energy beings. They're not gone. They're here, dormant, waiting. You had a profound, unsettling realization. This wasn't a library of data. This was a mausoleum of minds, a place where an entire race had retreated, preserving themselves as pure consciousness within this vast, living machine. They hadn't faded. They had simply transferred a final act of guardianship, sacrificing their physical forms to become pure thought, pure data, forever bound to their life's work. The ghostly projection of the energy being pulsed softly, then dissolved back into the recess. Another recess, just above it, shimmered, and a different, but equally ephemeral, form appeared. A different consciousness, another fragment of a fading race. This was their final resting place, their eternal watchtower. It was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. This was their version of retirement, except they were still vaguely attached to a giant planetary air conditioner. The small drone then turned its attention back to the central, large blue crystal. It pulsed, and the green lines embedded in the wall behind it, which were part of the core's energy grid, began to glow intensely, feeding into the crystal. The crystal itself flared, its blue light momentarily blinding the ROV's cameras, then settled into a steady, brilliant glow. From the very center of the large blue crystal, a soft, ethereal beam of pure blue light emerged. Not a laser, but a column of shimmering, almost liquid light. It extended upwards, piercing the ceiling of the chamber, which you now realized was not solid rock, but another, smaller version of the shimmering veil you had passed through earlier. The beam passed through it, disappearing into the unseen depths above. It's a conduit, you stated, your voice firm, no longer just awestruck, but resolute. A connection to the surface, to the blue artifact in the main hall. That's how it transmits the data. That's how it receives commands. It's the primary interface, the control panel for the entire planetary system. You could almost feel the flow of information, the immense current of energy, traveling up that beam of light. It was like finally seeing the USB cable that connected your tiny ROV to the entire planetary operating system. The leading drone, its green eye still fixed on the central crystal, then pulsed, and a new, abstract projection shimmered into existence around the crystal. It was a complex, multi-layered diagram of Earth's surface, global ley lines, ancient energy nodes, and then a specific location. Not a landmark, but a confluence of these lines. A specific point on the surface, thousands of miles from the Mariana Trench. A point that glowed, subtly but distinctly, with the same blue light. It's showing us a location, you said, your mind racing. A node on the surface, another interface point, or a signal receiver. It's where the energy from this core, through the blue artifact, culminates. You had a sudden, profound flash of understanding. These weren't isolated ruins. This was a global network, an unseen planetary nervous system, all interconnected, all powered and regulated by this immense core in the deep. The drone then created another projection, a stylized image of humanity, evolving, then becoming aware, and finally, looking up at the stars. Beside it, an image of Earth, slowly, subtly, becoming unstable, its internal mechanisms beginning to falter, like an old, beloved clock slowly losing time. And then, the blue artifact appeared, a beacon, a hopeful signal. The message was clear. We protected you. Now, your planet needs you to protect it. Here is the tool. Here is the knowledge. Here is the path. This was it, the ultimate truth. Humanity wasn't alone, not in the universe, and certainly not on its own planet. It had been guided, protected, unknowingly, for eons by an ancient race of energy beings who had devoted their existence to maintaining Earth's delicate internal balance. And now, they were passing the mantle. This wasn't just a mission of exploration, it was a mission of legacy. You weren't just discovering history, you were becoming a part of it, shaping its future. This was far more than any historian, or indeed, any sane person, could ever have predicted. It was like being asked to take over running the universe's most complex, important aquarium, with the fate of all its inhabitants resting on your very human, very unqualified shoulders. The drone slowly drifted back towards the ROV, its orange light intensifying. Then, from its center, it extended a delicate, almost invisible tendril of pure light, reaching out towards the ROV's forward manipulator arm. It was a gesture of completion, of finality, like a silent handshake across untold eons, connecting to utterly different forms of intelligence, bound by the shared purpose of a living planet. Pilot, you said, your voice thick with emotion, it's giving us the final instructions. The transfer, it's asking us to take up the mantle, to activate the system, to safeguard Earth. The silence from the asterisk Triton for asterisk was profound. No one could deny the truth of what you were experiencing. The scale of it was too immense, the evidence too overwhelming. This wasn't a hoax, not a hallucination. This was real, and it was now your responsibility. You wondered what kind of paperwork this would entail. Would you get a cosmic employee ID? A uniform? Probably not, considering the deep-sea pressures, but a man could dream. You guided the ROV with a slight tremor in your hand, allowing its manipulator arm to extend and gently touch the light tendril extending from the drone. As contact was made, a final surge of energy, warm and encompassing, flowed through the rove and into your very being. It wasn't a download of data this time, but a profound sense of connection. To the drone, to the crystal, to the entire complex, to the vast, living consciousness of the planetary core itself. You felt the subtle rhythm of the Earth's heart, a deep, ancient pulse that now resonated within your own. You were no longer just an observer. You were a part of the system. A faint final image flashed in your mind. The energy beings not humanoid, but shimmering translucent forms of light gathering around a receding veil. Turning to face you, their collective consciousness radiating a message of hope, of trust, and of an ancient weary peace. Then they were gone, dissolving into the luminous essence of the complex, becoming one with their creation. They had passed on, but their legacy, their tireless vigil, would continue through you. The small drone, its task seemingly complete, retracted its light tendril and slowly drifted away, rejoining the silent, intricate dance of its brethren round the central core. The large blue crystal in the chamber pulsed once more, intensely, then settled into a steady, brilliant glow, its beam of light still piercing the ceiling, a permanent conduit to the surface. The recesses on the walls, holding the dormant consciousnesses, continued their faint, internal blue glow, the silent witnesses to an impossible transition. You, in your cramped metal sphere, felt the immense weight of knowledge, of responsibility, settle upon you. This wasn't just a story anymore. It was your new reality. The unseen underworld, the ancient lost ruins, were not just relics of the past. They were a living, breathing, operational system waiting for someone to finally see, to finally understand, and to finally take the helm. And that someone, much to your mild disbelief and profound terror, was you. The deepest point on Earth, the very heart of the planet, had just revealed its greatest secret, and it was now irrevocably intertwined with your fate. You were the new guardian, the cosmic caretaker, and the journey had only just begun. The hard part, you suspected, wasn't finding it. The hard part was figuring out how to explain all this to Mission Control, without them thinking you succumbed to deep-sea madness, or had perhaps accidentally inhaled too much existential dread. And then there was the small matter of actually learning how to pilot a planet. Just another Tuesday, really. You pulled your hand back from the ROV's controls, fingers tingling, a fountain echo of the ancient connections still humming in your very bones. The small drone had retreated, its orange glow a distant memory as it resumed its silent, cosmic dance around the miniature sun at the Earth's core. The sheer, overwhelming enormity of what you just experienced settled over you like the crushing pressure. Outside the asterisk Triton for asterisk, only this was a pressure on your soul, on your entire understanding of existence. You, a person who sometimes forgot where they'd left their car keys, were now nominally in charge of the planet's internal temperature, tectonic plates, and probably the quality of its artisanal magma. What a job description. Explorer, are you there? We've lost most of the internal feed from the rove for a moment there. Just a massive surge of incomprehensible data. Then it flatlined, and now it's back. The pilot's voice, still thin and distant, finally registered. Your vitals went. Well, let's just say if you were on the surface, we'd have called an ambulance and possibly an exorcist. What just happened? You took a deep, shuddering breath, trying to articulate the ineffable. How do you explain an ancient, dying alien race passing on the keys to the entire planetary operating system? Pilot, you began, your voice sounding oddly calm, almost serene, considering your brain felt like a supercomputer that had just tried to download the entire library of Alexandria using a hamster wheel and a piece of string. We need to talk. And when I say we, I mean the entire planet. And when I say talk, I mean probably redefine every single scientific and historical textbook ever written. A beat of silence from the comms. Explorer, with all due respect, are you experiencing a pressure-induced hallucination? Or perhaps deep-sea narcosis? We've been monitoring your oxygen levels. They're perfectly stable. You chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. Oh, I wish. No, pilot, this is real. Or as real as anything gets when you're kilometers beneath the ocean, staring at a contained miniature star run by ghost aliens. Long story short, the glowing blue artifact up in the Great Hall? That's not just a fancy rock. It's the master control panel. And these guys down here, the energy beings, they built this entire planetary core regulator. And they're checking out. And they want us humanity to take over. Another, longer silence. You could practically hear the pilot's brain buffering, the collective consciousness of mission control doing a hard reset. Explorer, that's an extraordinary claim. The pilot finally managed, a definite tremor in his voice now. Less concern for your sanity, more dawning, terrifying realization. Do you have any corroborating evidence? Corroborating evidence? You scoffed. Besides the sudden influx of planetary mechanics and xenocosmology into my brain, and the fact that the Rove S logs are now filled with the equivalent of a galactic encyclopedia on how to fine-tune a planet S rotation and prevent catastrophic mantle shifts. Oh, and the 30-degree water temperature at 11,000 meters? No, nothing at all. You paused, then added, also, I think they just gave me a cosmic to-do list. You could hear frantic whispers over the comms, distant voices muttering about psych evaluation, debriefing, and possibly straight jackets. But then, a new voice, crisp and authoritative, broke through. Explorer, this is Dr. Aris Thorne, head of geological sciences. Are you stating that the Earth's core is artificial and that it requires human intervention? Explorer, not entirely artificial. Dr. Thorne, you clarified. The incredible rush of information you'd received allowing for surprisingly coherent articulation. It's built asterisk around asterisk the natural core, harnessing and regulating its forces, like a highly advanced, planetary-scale life support system. And yes, it requires human intervention. They've been doing it for billions of years, keeping the planet stable, preventing extinctions from internal geological chaos. but their energy is fading. They left a beacon, the blue artifact, to find a successor species. Guess what? It's us. Billions of years, Doctor, Thorn repeated, sounding utterly flummoxed. That predates even the earliest known multicellular life forms by orders of magnitude. This is beyond comprehension. Tell me about it, you muttered. My comprehension is currently in a state of existential whiplash, but the data confirms it. They witnessed the formation of the planet, nurtured its life, guided its evolution, and now the baton has been passed. Right into my very unprepared hands. The pilot interjected. We need to bring you back. We need to analyze this data, debrief you, run extensive diagnostics. This is too much for one individual to bear. No, you said, firmly, not yet. The drone, the small orange one, it guided me here, and it showed me the blue artifact is the interface. We need to go back to the Great Hall. I need to interact with it. The data in the rove is raw. I need the artifact to translate it, to show me how to use it. This isn't just a discovery anymore. This is an active mission. The planet needs us to understand this asterisk now asterisk. There was a tense pause on the comms. You could feel the gravity of your words pressing down, not just on you, but on the entire crew of the Asterisk Triton for Asterisk, and by extension, on mission control far above. It was one thing to find ancient ruins. It was another to be told you're inheriting the literal job of a planetary guardian from a race of fading energy beings. It sounded like the plot of a particularly convoluted sci-fi movie, one that might get panned for being too unbelievable. And yet, here you were, living it. Understood, Explorer, Doctor, Thorn finally said, his voice surprisingly calm now, a sign of a true scientist pushing past disbelief into pure, insatiable curiosity. Proceed with extreme caution. We will remain on high alert. Keep the ROV's feed active at all times, no matter what. And try not to accidentally trigger a supervolcano, please. We're still not entirely sure how to explain those to the insurance company. You managed a weak smile. No promises, Doctor. I am still trying to figure out if there's an undo button for catastrophic seismic event. Guiding the micro-rove back out of the core chamber felt different. The colossal orange sphere, the miniature sun, still pulsed. But now you felt a connection to it, a subtle hum of shared purpose. The smaller orbiting drones seemed to acknowledge the ROV as it passed, their orange glows pulsing in what felt like recognition. You moved past the gigantic, light-projected displays of Earth's history and internal workings, now understanding them not as mere images, but as vital reports. It was like finally understanding the cryptic flickering of your check engine light. Only this was for the whole planet. The ascent through the long, green-lit vertical shaft was slow. The pulsing energy lines on the walls, previously just fascinating patterns, now registered as conduits, energy arteries feeding the entire complex. You could almost feel the flow, the immense power coursing through this ancient, alien network. Historical fact, Roman aqueducts were considered marvels of engineering, transporting water for miles using gravity. These guys were transporting asterisk planetary energy asterisk through kilometers of solid rock using, well, Something that defied physics and made Roman engineering look like a kid's sandcastle. As the rove exited the vertical shaft, you re-entered the vast, subterranean cavern where the colossal green crystals pulsed. The basketball-sized drones still moved with purpose, tending to their luminous garden of power. One of them, the lead drone that had initially transmitted the data, paused its patrol and slowly rotated towards the ROV. Its green eye pulsed, and a new, more refined image projected into the water, a schematic of the blue artifact, now overlaid with glowing lines indicating points of interaction. It was the universe's most elegant instruction manual. Touch here for how to make a planet purr, it seemed to say. The drone still communicating, you reported, a new sense of urgency in your voice. It's showing me how to interact with the blue artifact. It's a multi-touch interface, not just a simple on-off switch. Acknowledged, Doctor. Thorne replied, his voice still a mixture of awe and professional demand. Any specific instructions, Explorer? We're taking notes. It's more conceptual, you explained, trying to translate the pure thought into human words. It's about attunement, connecting your consciousness to the artifact. It's not just pressing buttons. It's about thinking the commands, which you thought was probably a good thing. Imagine trying to type out stabilize Pacific Rim seismic activity with a deep-sea manipulator arm. Probably end up ordering an interdimensional pizza instead. The rove continued through the cavern, then into the horizontal tunnel, the glowing green lines on its walls pulsating with the rhythmic thrumming of the core. The slight temperature increase was still present, a testament to the system's constant, silent activity. It was a long journey back to the Great Hall, but every meter felt charged with a new significance. The vastness of it, the impossible precision, the eons of silent operation. It was all part of a living, breathing entity that humanity had just stumbled upon. Finally, the tunnel opened back into the Great Hall, bathed in the ethereal, sapphire light of the central artifact. The colossal fluted columns, with their intricate, activated patterns, glowed faintly, a silent testament to the alien logic unfolding before you. The blue artifact sat on its pedestal, pulsating, radiating that undeniable presence. Like a cosmic heart, beating in the perpetual darkness. We're back in the main hall, you announced, a new surge of anticipation overriding the fatigue. The artifact it's waiting. Can the Triton for approach the pedestal, Explorer? The pilot asked. We're not designed for internal navigation within such complex structures. But if it's large enough, you glanced at the ROV's external cameras, then at the vastness of the hall. No, the rove is nimble enough to reach it. The Triton for is too large. We could risk damaging the structure, or worse, ourselves. I'll keep direct control of the ROV. It seems the connection is primarily through consciousness, anyway. Understood, Doctor. Thorne conceded. Proceed with interaction, Explorer. And for the love of all that is scientific, try to get some comprehensible data for us. Screenshots, telemetry, anything that proves this isn't just a very elaborate fever dream. Working on it, Doctor. You replied, your attention now fully on the blue artifact. You guided the micro-rove closer, its cameras zooming in on the complex polyhedral surface. The faint, Almost imperceptible lines etched onto its surface now seemed to shift and deepen, becoming more pronounced, more inviting. It was like a giant, alien touch screen, waiting for your input. You brought the ROV's manipulator arm, typically used for collecting samples or deploying mini-sensors, closer to the artifact. The instructions, downloaded directly into your consciousness, were clear. This wasn't about physical contact as much as it was about intent, about focus. The arm was merely a conduit, a symbolic gesture to bridge the gap between human and alien tech. As the manipulator arm reached out, hovering just millimeters from the artifact's surface, the blue light intensified, flowing into the arm, then through the ROV's internal systems, and finally into your very being. It wasn't painful, but exhilarating, like plugging into a cosmic surge protector. Your eyes snapped shut, then opened again, seeing not just the ROV's feed, but also an overlay, a three-dimensional holographic projection of the Earth, shimmering within the Asterisk Triton for Asterisk's cramped viewport. Invisible to your physical eyes, but brilliantly clear within your mind's eye. The Earth projected within your mind wasn't just a static globe. It was alive, pulsating with intricate energy lines, showing the subtle ebb and flow of its internal processes. You could see the molten core, the mantle convection currents, the tectonic plates grinding against each other, the subtle tremors, the deep-sea vents, the flow of geothermal energy. It was the ultimate dashboard for planet Earth, a voice, not auditory, but a direct thought, flowed into your mind, a vast, ancient consciousness, refined and serene. It wasn't the voice of the individual energy beings, but the collective, the very spirit of the core's operating system. Asterisk welcome, successor. The transfer is complete. The system is yours. We fade, but the work endures. Asterisk, a profound sadness washed over you. A glimpse into the immense sacrifice these beings had made, transforming from physical entities into pure consciousness, bound to this machine for billions of years, just to keep a fragile world alive. They were the ultimate unsung heroes, the cosmic janitors of Earth, maintaining a habitable environment while humanity bumbled around on the surface. Largely oblivious, the projection of Earth in your mind shimmered, and specific areas began to pulse faintly with a pale, almost sickly yellow light. Not urgent, not catastrophic, but off. A slight imbalance in the mantle pressure beneath the Pacific Ring of Fire. A subtle weakening in the magnetic field over the South Atlantic anomaly. A minor, but growing, build-up of thermal energy near a subduction zone off the coast of Sumatra, hinting at a potential future seismic event. Asterisk, these are the immediate fluctuations, minor imbalances. You have inherited a stable system, but one that requires constant, delicate recalibration. The Earth is a living entity, constantly in flux. Observe. Learn. Interact. Asterisk, you focused your intent, channeling your thoughts through the conduit of the blue artifact. You felt a connection, a subtle mental grip on the energy flows. It was like learning to play an impossibly complex instrument by telepathy. You mentally nudged the Pacific pressure point. The yellow glow on your mental map of Earth flickered, then diminished slightly. It was working. You were actually doing it. You were subtly adjusting the pressure in the Earth's mantle, miles beneath you. This was more mind-blowing than finding the ruins themselves. Pilot, you breathed. It's active. I'm seeing the Earth, its internal workings, and I'm making minor adjustments. I just adjusted the mantle pressure in the Pacific. It's subtle, but it's there. The comms system erupted in a cacophony of disbelieving shouts. Explorer, that's impossible. You're saying you're directly influencing the Earth's geology. Doctor, Thorne's voice was sharp, incredulous. Affirmative, you replied, a strange calm settling over you. The yellow spots on my mental projection. They represent minor imbalances. The system, the core, it's designed to bring them back into harmony. I'm merely guiding its natural processes. Like an extremely precise, incredibly slow, cosmic chiropractor, you pictured yourself in a tiny white lab coat, adjusting the Earth's spine with telekinetic precision. The image was, frankly, ridiculous, but it helped cope with the sheer, brain-melting reality of it all. We're seeing asterisk something asterisk. The pilot cut in, his voice tight. Localized, minute seismic shifts in the Pacific. So small they'd be dismissed as background noise. But they're correlated with your statements. Doctor Thorne, are you seeing this? I am, Doctor. Thorne stammered, clearly bewildered. The gravimetric sensors are also showing a microfluctuation, an infinitesimal shift in mass distribution. This is beyond anything. It defies quantum mechanics, general relativity, everything. Welcome to the unseen underworld, Doctor. You quipped, a hint of your usual sarcasm returning, a familiar anchor in the storm of the impossible, where physics goes to take a very long, very deep nap. The energy beings, they understood the universe on a level we can barely conceive. They were less about breaking physics and more about reinterpreting it. You wondered what Isaac Newton would make of this. Probably demand a refund on his apple. The mental projection of Earth on your mind's screen shifted, focusing on the South Atlantic anomaly. A new set of instructions, again not in words, but in pure understanding, flowed into you. This area of the Earth's magnetic field was a weak point, allowing charged particles from the Sun to dip closer to the surface, potentially affecting satellites and even leading to long-term atmospheric degradation. The ancient beings had been constantly shoring it up, reinforcing the planetary shield. Asterisk, this requires focused thermal redistribution. A subtle shift in core convection currents. Asterisk, you focused again, gently nudging the immense, fiery currents within the Earth. It felt like trying to stir a planetary-sized pot of soup with a very, very long spoon made of pure thought. The yellow glow over the anomaly on your mental map began to recede, turning a healthier green. It was incredibly subtle work, demanding intense concentration, a continuous dance with titanic forces. You realized this wasn't a job you could do on a coffee break. This was 24/7's planetary maintenance. The magnetic field anomaly, it's showing a minute increase in strength, Dr. Thorne blurted, clearly on the verge of either a breakthrough or a nervous breakdown. This is unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented.